Just down the road from the city of Litchfield Park lies a building with a very unusual history. On the grounds of the former Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, a hangar exists where workers created some of the world's largest airships, the famed Goodyear blimps that have been seen by millions of people over the years at sporting events and parades all around the country.
It was in 1951, and they had just been working on the blimps for about a year or less, building the Goodyear blimp. And a friend, I was looking for a job. I was just 19, and a friend told me that she was working here and that I might could get a job here. So I came over. I lived here in Avondale, and I came over and applied, and they hired me right away.
It was in 1951, and I had a job, but I wasn't making that much money, and I thought I'd change, do something different, So my sister and I came and applied for a job for the blimp, they were hiring a lot of people with the things.
These same workers who built the blimps also turned their talents to other special projects.
So while we was building the blimp, they just set us aside and we did the Macy's balloons.
These were giant figure balloons that caused children and adults alike to relax and smile a bit during the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City.
Well, it was like our airship, Once you would see it blown up, you would think, oh, did we do that? That's very, very pretty. And then to see them in the parade, that was even better.
It was a lot of work, but fun, and to see them complete for a big project, for the Macy parade, which is so great,
I think that the Macy's parade balloons that we built was the happy time.
It was.
Because the other ones was just a job.
It was.
It was just
when you saw them blown up.
Oh, yes.
Colors
and then,
were so pretty.
Yeah.
It was
so proud when we got each one of them done.
We couldn't wait to see what they looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I wonder what they...
This is a story of how these workers, known as the Balloon Girls, worked together to build some of the most recognizable cultural icons of the 20th century, right here in the Southwest Valley, only a short distance from Litchfield Park. It was back in August of 1957 when a special projects representative for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, Victor Herbert, traveled to New York City from Akron, Ohio on an important business mission to meet with the company artists from the Macy's department store and design a cartoon balloon for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The two companies had been working together for 30 years, designing and producing the giant cartoon character balloons that delighted thousands of spectators on the parade route, and millions more on TV. It was a natural sideline activity for Goodyear. They had the technology and the know-how to build and fly the giant inflated airships that were a familiar sight to everyone. This particular year, one of the most ambitious cartoon balloons to date was proposed, one that would take over 600 linear yards of special rubberized fabric to complete. It would be a perfect rendition of Popeye the Sailor Man, one of the most popular cartoon characters of the day. It was a big task, and there wasn't a lot of time. The parade was less than 3 months away. Mr. Herbert wrapped up his meetings in a couple of days, and with the two sides agreeing that for 1957, Popeye was their man. First to get the job were Goodyear Company draftsmen in Akron, Ohio. These skilled design engineers spent countless hours bent over their design tables drawing the 253 separate patterns that are necessary to form the huge figure. They built in 10 valves for inflation and carefully placed reinforced holding patches and lines so that Popeye would fly impressively over the parade route. Their measurements indicated that the finished balloon would be nearly 50 feet high. Once the patterns were completed, the job shifted out west to what was then called Goodyear Aircraft Corporation's Litchfield Park assembly plant. Here, more skilled workers spent a full month inside one of the giant hangars in the construction process. First, painstakingly laying out the draftsman's patterns into rubberized nylon balloon fabric and cutting each individual piece by hand. Then, specially skilled women workers who had honed their skills constructing the company's blimps began assembling the individual pieces.
But it was very interesting job because it was different things, the laying out, the building up with paint, the sewing, the taping, and then we would put it together and they would call everybody to help move it around.
It was hard work. Days spent kneeling on the concrete floor, cutting the tough rubber fabric, and hours working with the sticky glue that was used to hold it all together. These women formed a friendship working together at the plant, a relationship that continues to this day as they still get together for lunches and meetings to reminisce about the past. On one such day, 4 of the original balloon girls had a chance to walk the now abandoned hangar where they spent so many hours working on the balloons.
It was just fun. We just made them. They just left us there. We just made them. We worked on them. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a joy, like I say.
We was building the blimps all the time, and then they brought the balloons for Macy's Day. They brought them in, but we was working on the blimp at the same time, and then some of us go over there and work on the balloons, and then when they needed more help, well, they'd pull somebody else off of the airship, and we'd go over there and work on the balloons. And so it wasn't the same people all the time, just whoever was handy, to help out, because everybody knew how to do the type of work. And so
The work was a lot of physical work, physical work,
Nobody knows how hard it is to make a blimp, and those balloons too. Macy's balloons, you have to be right on the cement floor. You're right on your knees. You're bending over, and you work like that. When you work 36 years on your knees, you got pretty good calluses on your knees.
I told them I was a farm girl, and they knew I had to work hard at that, so I'd be a hard worker.
Although it was tough work, for these women, the effort on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day balloons was a welcome diversion from building the blimps. As they scrambled over the fabric sections, looking for the right pieces to lap seam together, they spoke of their families and their lives to each other. Hands sticky with air-cured neoprene cement and a steady eye to apply the finishing seam from this giant sewing machine were all part of the job. It was work that took place alongside their regular jobs of building the blimps, but in the downtime when work on the blimps was at a standstill. It was rewarding work, and a special accomplishment their families recognized when they watched the parade on TV.
Exciting, really, and for a big project, for the Macy parade, which is so great, and it was a lot of work, but fun, and to see them complete.
Slowly, Popeye took shape. His hands measured 6 foot square, forearms 7 feet in diameter, a 16-foot chest, 9-foot waist, and 8-foot legs. His feet were 10 feet in length, and his shoulders measured 16 feet across. Probably the most distinguishing trademark of Popeye, though, is his pipe. It was 4 feet long, with 3 cubic feet of space for the imaginary tobacco. To fill it, Popeye would have to ladle in almost 80 pounds of imaginary tobacco.
Well, the pipe was, you have to make it so that it comes out, the air stays in there. And if you don't get enough air in his chest and his head, then his pipe falls, down.
The balloon girls worked hard during this time to meet their deadline. Work proceeded inside the old hangar until Popeye was all sewn and glued together, ready for paint. 33 gallons of paint in 4 colors were applied as the finishing touch. The new star of the Macy's pageant was shipped back to Wingfoot Airship Base outside of Akron for a test flight. It was there, on a chilly fall day, that Popeye was inflated with nearly 6,000 square feet of helium and took his first flight. It worked! Popeye was ready for his debut. All in all, 40 people, including the ground crew in Akron, were involved in the newest of Macy's long line of colorful figure balloons for 1957. Finally, following the test flight and a mere 75 days after receiving the drawings, Mr. Herbert wired Macy's that Popeye was ready. Popeye was the newest of over 40 balloon characters the Goodyear Corporation designed for Macy's, and certainly one of the most popular. People loved seeing him flying low over the parade route, but it was also tough duty. The people who guided Popeye on his parade trek had to dodge sharp building edges, tricky winds, and the occasional target practice from people with air guns in New York's tall buildings. When the parade was over, Popeye was deflated and guarded against overzealous souvenir seekers intent on a piece of the strong man's fabric. But Popeye held on and lasted nearly 5 years in the parade, with a freshening up each year between his parade appearances. At that time, the average lifespan of the huge character balloons was between 5 and 7 years. At the end of his parade flight career, Popeye was given a retirement party in New York's Central Park. During his short life, he made a memorable impression on all the people who saw him in person and all the millions who saw him on TV. And, in a way, he still lives on today, in the memories of the balloon girls who produced these giant cartoon characters.